The medical bay of the Galactic Research Station Epsilon 7 smelled of antiseptic and fear. 3 Veltharian medics stood frozen at the entrance to the containment cell, their translucent skin flickering with bioluminescent patterns of distress. Inside the reinforced chamber, a creature from the swamp world of Drazen 9 lay dying, its massive body convulsing with each labored breath. Dr. Sixthal, the senior xenobiologist on station, clutched his scanning device with trembling appendages. His compound eyes darted between the creature and his colleagues, searching for any volunteer brave enough to enter. The beast was 3 meters tall even while lying down, covered in obsidian scales that caught the harsh medical lights. Its teeth, each the size of a human forearm, protruded from jaws powerful enough to crush starship hull plating. "We cannot simply let it expire," Sixthal said, his voice translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "The specimen represents the only survivor of its species in captivity. The Conservation Council will have our credentials revoked." Nurse Prylax, a smaller Veltharian with pale blue markings, backed away from the door. "Did you not review the incident report from Drazen 9? These creatures hunt in packs. They have brought down mining mechs. 3 survey teams have been lost to them." The third medic, an intern named Kill, had already retreated to the far corner of the medical bay. Her panic was evident in the rapid strobing of her skin, cycling through reds and purples in a visual scream of terror. The creature inside the cell released a sound somewhere between a roar and a whimper. Dark fluid leaked from a gash along its flank, where mining equipment had struck it during capture. The wound had become infected, and now fever ravaged the animal's body. Without treatment, it would be dead within hours. Sixthal accessed the station directory on his wrist computer. There must be someone qualified, someone with experience in aggressive species veterinary care. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the personnel files. "Wait. We have a human on station. A Dr. Sarah Chen. Her credentials list veterinary medicine as a specialty." Prylax made a gesture of confusion with his upper tendrils. "A human? Are they not a predator species themselves? From a death world designated Class 12? "Precisely," Sixthal said, a hint of hope entering his vocalized clicks. "Perhaps it takes a predator to understand a predator." 20 minutes later, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the medical bay, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing the standard-issue jumpsuit of station personnel. She was of average height for a human, which made her significantly shorter than the Veltharians, but she carried herself with a calm confidence that seemed to fill the room. She peered through the observation window at the dying creature, her brown eyes taking in every detail. "Beautiful animal," she murmured, pressing a hand against the transparent aluminum. "Looks like a cross between a Komodo dragon and a bear. What happened to it?" Sixthal explained the situation, his words tumbling out in his anxiety. "We need someone to enter and provide medical treatment. But the creature is classified as an apex predator. The risk of attack is calculated at 93% should it feel threatened." Sarah turned to look at him, one eyebrow raised. "And you called me because? Your species evolved on a planet where nearly everything was designed to kill you," Prylax said. "We assumed you might have strategies we lack." A small smile played at the corners of Sarah's mouth. "You want me to go in there because I'm expendable, or because you think I'm crazy enough to try?" "Neither," Sixthal said quickly. "We reviewed your file. You have extensive experience with dangerous fauna. Tigers, bears, venomous reptiles. You have sedated and treated creatures that would terrify most species in the Galactic Union." Sarah studied the creature again. Its breathing had become more labored, and the scales around the wound had taken on an unhealthy gray tinge. "That infection is systemic. If someone doesn't clean and dress that wound soon, sepsis will kill it before morning. Do you have the right antibiotics for its biology?" Sixthal gestured to a prepared medical kit on a nearby table. We have broad-spectrum antimicrobials that should be effective. Sedatives as well, though we are uncertain of the proper dosage for a creature this size. Sedatives won't work fast enough if it decides to attack, Sarah said. She stepped away from the window and began examining the medical kit, checking each item with practiced efficiency. I'll need to go in there with the animal fully conscious and aware. That means reading its body language and earning its trust in about 30 seconds. Kill, still cowering in the corner, made a sound of disbelief. Earning trust? With a creature designed by evolution to be a killing machine? Sarah looked at the young Veltharian with sympathy. Every animal is designed by evolution to survive. Yes, this one is a predator, but right now it is scared, in pain, and dying. Those instincts might actually work in my favor. She pulled on a pair of thick gloves and checked that her boots were securely fastened. The key is showing it that I am not a threat. Prelax moved closer, his skin flickering with orange patterns of concern. How can you demonstrate non-threat behavior when we do not know this species' social signals? Universal language, Sarah said, slinging the medical kit over her shoulder. She grabbed a large container of water and tucked several packages of nutrient paste under her arm. I am going to move slowly, keep my body posture low and non-aggressive, and I am going to offer it something it needs more than defense right now, care. She walked to the containment cell door. Sixthal hurried to the control panel to unlock it. His hands shook as he entered the access code. Dr. Chen, he said, his translator barely catching the tremor in his voice. If this goes wrong, the emergency stasis field will activate in 2 seconds. That should be enough time to preserve your body for medical intervention. Comforting, Sarah said dryly. She took a deep breath and rolled her shoulders, loosening tension. Open it. The door slid aside with a pneumatic hiss. The smell hit Sarah immediately, a mixture of reptilian musk, infection, and blood. The creature's head snapped up at the sound of the door, and its eyes, golden with slit pupils, locked onto her. Sarah froze in the doorway, making herself as small as possible. She kept her eyes slightly averted, looking at the creature but not making direct, challenging eye contact. The beast's lips peeled back from its enormous teeth, and a low growl rumbled from deep in its chest. Easy, Sarah whispered, her voice low and calm. Easy, big one. I know you are hurting. I know you are scared. I am here to help. She took one slow step into the cell. The creature's growl intensified, and its claws, each as long as Sarah's hand, scraped against the floor. Behind her, Sarah could hear one of the Veltharians gasp. She took another step, then lowered herself into a crouch. The movement made her even smaller, less threatening. She set down the water container and the nutrient paste, pushing them forward with her foot. See? Food, water, not here to hurt you. She kept her voice in that same low, soothing tone. Years of working with frightened animals had taught her that the words did not matter as much as the tone. Calm, steady, confident but not aggressive. The creature's nostrils flared as it scented the air. Its eyes moved from Sarah to the offering of food and water, then back to Sarah. The growling diminished slightly. Sarah reached slowly into her medical kit and withdrew a scanner. She held it up where the creature could see it, letting it observe the device. Just a scanner, see? Not a weapon. Going to check your vitals. She activated it, and the device emitted a soft hum. The creature flinched but did not attack. Inch by inch, Sarah moved closer. She kept her movements fluid and predictable, never jerky or sudden. The creature tracked her every motion, its body tense, ready to strike. Sarah could see the muscles bunched beneath its scales, could calculate the speed at which those jaws could snap forward. One bite would kill her instantly. She pushed the thought away and focused on the animal's eyes. Fear, pain, confusion. She had seen that combination 1,000 times in 1,000 different species. "That is it," she murmured. "You are doing so well. So brave." She was close enough now to reach out and touch it. She extended her hand slowly, palm down, fingers relaxed. She let it rest in the air between them, an offering of trust. The creature's head swiveled, bringing its snout close to her hand. Sarah could feel its hot breath on her skin, could smell the carnivore scent of its last meal. The teeth were so close that she could see the serrations along their edges. Then, incredibly, the creature's tongue flicked out and touched her palm. The gesture was gentle, almost curious. Some of the tension left its body. "Good," Sarah breathed. "Very good. We are friends now, yes?" She moved her hand slowly to rest on the creature's head, between its eyes. The scales were surprisingly warm beneath her palm. She stroked gently, and the creature's eyes half closed. From the observation window, Sixthal watched in amazement. His skin had gone completely white with shock. Beside him, Prillax was recording everything on his personal device, unable to believe what he was witnessing. Sarah continued to stroke the creature's head with one hand while reaching into her medical kit with the other. She withdrew a bottle of antiseptic and some clean cloths. "Now comes the hard part," she said softly. "This is going to hurt, and I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She moved around to the creature's wounded flank. This put her in an even more vulnerable position, right next to its powerful hind legs. One kick could shatter every bone in her body. She knelt in the dried blood and examined the gash up close. It was worse than it had looked from outside. The wound was deep, infected tissue visible along the edges. She would need to clean it thoroughly before applying the antibiotics. Sarah soaked a cloth in antiseptic and brought it to the wound. The moment the liquid touched infected flesh, the creature roared in pain. Its body went rigid, and its head whipped around, jaws open wide. Sarah found herself staring into a mouth large enough to fit her entire head inside. For a heartbeat, she thought she had pushed too far, moved too fast. But she did not flinch. She did not pull away. She met the creature's eyes and kept her voice steady. I know it hurts, but the poison is inside you and it needs to come out. You are strong. You can handle this." The creature's jaws remained open, poised to strike. Sarah could see its internal struggle, pain and fear warring with the fragile trust she had built. Then slowly, the jaws closed. The creature lowered its head and released a sound that was almost a whimper. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes, but she blinked them away. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for trusting me." She returned to cleaning the wound, working as quickly as she dared. The creature trembled beneath her hands but did not pull away or attack. She flushed the wound with antiseptic until she was certain all the infected tissue had been removed. Then she applied a thick coating of the broad-spectrum antimicrobial gel that Sixthal had prepared. The creature flinched at each touch but remained still. Finally, Sarah covered the wound with a sterile bandage, sealing it in place with medical tape designed for non-human hides. She sat back on her heels, exhausted, her hands shaking now that the immediate danger had passed. The creature turned its head to look at her. There was something different in its eyes now, something that looked almost like gratitude. It nudged her shoulder gently with its snout, nearly knocking her over with its strength. Sarah laughed, the sound breaking the tension that had held the medical bay in its grip. "You are welcome, big one." She reached out and scratched under the creature's chin, and it leaned into the touch. She opened the water container and held it out. The creature drank deeply, its long tongue lapping at the liquid. Sarah opened the nutrient paste packages, and the creature consumed them in 3 quick bites. Already, with the immediate thirst and hunger addressed, it seemed stronger. Sarah activated her communicator. "Sixthal, I am going to need to stay in here for a few hours. I want to monitor the wound and make sure the antibiotics are working. Can you bring me a chair and some additional supplies?" There was a long pause before the Veltharian's voice came through, filled with wonder. Of course, Dr. Chen. Whatever you require. I must say, what you have accomplished here is nothing short of miraculous. I have never witnessed anything like it. It is just veterinary medicine, Sarah said, but she was smiling. The principles are the same whether you are treating a house cat or an apex predator. Patience, respect, and understanding. Over the next several hours, the station's crew found reasons to pass by the medical bay, peering through the observation window at the impossible sight within. The terrifying creature from Drazen 9 lay with its massive head resting in Dr. Chen's lap while she monitored its vital signs and changed its bandage. She had pulled the chair close and was reading from a data pad, occasionally reaching down to stroke the creature's scales. Kill, who had finally emerged from her corner, stared at the scene with her skin displaying patterns of awe. "How is this possible?" she asked Sixthal. "Every instinct that creature possesses should demand it attack her." Sixthal had been reviewing the footage of Sarah's initial entry into the cell, analyzing her every movement. "I believe humans possess something we have lost in our evolution toward civilization," he said quietly. "They understand the language of survival on an instinctive level. They know what it is to be both predator and prey, to live in a world where trust must be earned moment by moment." Prelax joined them at the window. "I have been researching Earth fauna. Do you know that humans domesticated wolves? Creatures that hunted them, that competed with them for resources. They turned apex predators into companions through patience and mutual benefit." "More than that," Sixthal said, gesturing at Sarah. "She went into that cell knowing the risk, but she did so anyway because the creature needed help. That is not logic. That is not calculation of acceptable risk. That is courage born from compassion." Inside the cell, Sarah had dozed off in her chair, exhausted from the adrenaline crash. The creature remained still, its breathing now steady and deep. The fever had broken, and the wound showed signs of healing. It kept its head in her lap, and occasionally its eyes would open to check that she was still there before closing again. When Sarah woke several hours later, she found that someone had draped a blanket over her shoulders. The creature was awake, watching her with those intelligent golden eyes. She smiled and ran her hand along its snout. "Feeling better?" she asked. As if in response, the creature made a rumbling sound that was almost a purr. Sarah laughed. "I am going to take that as a yes." She checked the bandage one final time and was pleased to see that the infection had retreated significantly. The creature would live. It would recover fully, given time and continued care. Sarah stood and stretched, her back protesting from the hours in the chair. "I need to go get some real rest," she told the creature. "But I will be back to check on you tomorrow. Be good for the medical staff, all right?" She walked to the cell door and signaled for it to open. Before she could step through, she felt something warm press against her back. The creature had followed her and was nudging her gently with its head, the same way it might nuzzle a member of its own pack. Sarah turned and wrapped her arms around the creature's neck, pressing her face against its scales. "You are going to be just fine," she whispered. "I promise." When she finally stepped out of the cell, she found the entire medical staff waiting for her. Sixthal approached, his skin displaying patterns of deep respect. "Dr. Chen, what you did today will be studied for years to come. You have demonstrated something we thought impossible." Sarah shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "I just treated a patient. That is all." "No," Prelax said. "You faced down your fear and showed that courage is not the absence of fear, but action despite it. You taught us that compassion can bridge even the widest evolutionary gaps." Kill stepped forward, her skin showing soft green patterns of admiration. "I want to learn to do what you did." "Will you teach me?" Sarah looked at the young intern and saw the same determination she had felt years ago when she first decided to become a veterinarian. "It would be my honor," she said. As Sarah left the medical bay, the creature watched her go from behind the observation window. Its tail swished once, a gesture that in its species indicated contentment and trust. The alien medics who had trembled in fear now stood in awe, understanding that they had witnessed something profound. Humanity, they realized, had not conquered their fear of predators through technology or weapons. They had conquered it through understanding, through the courage to see past teeth and claws to the living being beneath. It was a lesson the Galactic Union had forgotten in their sterile laboratories and distant observations. Sometimes, it took an apex predator to understand another apex predator. And sometimes, it took a human to show the rest of the galaxy what true courage looked like.